Alrighty, we are live. Tuesday, regular little Ask Me Anything session. Welcome if you have just joined to the chat. If you don't know me and this is your first time on one of these Ask Me Anything sessions, I am a full-time musician based in Auckland, New Zealand. Been playing a bunch of shows. It's crazy. When I look back at some years, got nearly close to 300 shows in a year, which is wild. Haven't been doing this year, but that's also part of what we're going to talk about tonight. I've been setting up a few little kind of subjects and topics just to get the ball rolling on these Ask Me Anything sessions. And tonight is kind of like all the parts of the puzzle. And it's different for everybody because we've all got different goals that we want to do with music. Literally, it could be from anything being like, I just want to be able to play my music and be supported enough to live, to being like, I legit want to have a #1 single in 10 countries around the world, whatever your different goals are with music. Or it could be purely just, I really enjoy hanging out with friends. So if there's something on topic tonight regarding kind of talking about maybe the music business, we're going to look at 3 artists that have been doing really, really well this year. Despite the climate, the economic conditions, lockdowns, all that, despite all of that, these 3 artists have been doing really, really well. And I've dug into a bit of what's going on. I have some connection to them in some way that we've connected somewhere along the way before. Which I don't know if that will be insightful for you, or if maybe there'll be my bias from knowing them in some way. I'm not sure, but we'll dive into it, and we'll. My goal with tonight is that obviously you can ask questions, type something in the chat, and say hi. And if you're on, feel free to say hi, and that you're here and tuning in, because that's the only way I can't hear you. So that's the only way I'll know you're around. And if you're watching this later, then awesome. Feel free to drop a comment in if there's something that you kind of maybe want answered or feel I skipped over. But thanks for tuning in. And if it can be entirely off topic as well. So these Tuesday nights, I make some time to do or contribute what I can for whoever is on, which is you. But kicking into it. Hey, David, thanks for being here. Appreciate you. I'm going to give you just quickly, in case you have to run off, I'm just going to put on the screen now the artists we're going to talk about tonight. So there is Matt Baker from New York, Australian guy originally, living in New York. Has been doing a bunch of live streams, set up a masterclass, and has been doing a lot behind the scenes and making that work really well. There is Sean Kirk from Australia. Very cool artist. Amazing what he does. He's a blues player. I don't know where to start with the list of instruments he plays, but he plays them all at once as part of his show. Playing harmonica, guitar with bass in there and different lines as well. And then he's also drumming, like completely drumming with his shows. Hey, Paul. Cheers, man. Thanks, brother. And then lastly, we have New Zealand's own Auckland, Andrew Rooney. And Andrew Rooney and I have been chatting a bunch in terms of the YouTube space. So what Matt and what Sean have been doing have been based around doing live streams from Facebook mostly, but there's a lot more going on behind the scenes. So I kind of wanted to dive in and be like, what is it that has had these 3 people create amazing success? Andrew Rooney on YouTube. And again, if you go and follow his channel, you'll see that. And I like doing this. I like digging in and finding being like, what is it that they've been doing? So I go back and stalk, basically stalk people on their channels and on social media. And if we let's kind of kick things off with Sean Kirk, I think. And from this year, there's a bunch of stuff. He's a great musician. He's obviously putting a lot of time into his playing and singing and songs, but he's been live streaming pretty much 3 times a week, every week since since I'd say maybe March, April. I should have gone and made notes so that Giovanni, thanks. It literally is something that's in the pipeline at the moment. I've been mapping out some steps to that. So I will be super excited to share that and actually work with you all doing a live via Zoom masterclass. So that's in the pipeline. I'm actually really excited to see what we can create together from that and that format. But yeah, I love it. Okay, Paul. So you heard of Sean Kirk while you were in Oz? Did you hear of him through social media, like through Facebook, of him performing live streams? Just curious. Yeah, but what he did was he live streaming 3 times a week. He was also, if you go back and look through a lot of his Facebook posts, he was posting a lot of pictures of him. He's got great shots, good looking dude, always helps. But there's a whole lot of messages that went with each post. It wasn't just a like, here's a picture of me from a photo shoot. Okay, there's like really a lot of value that I got out of reading the post. Sean, if you're watching, there's a lot of value I got out of your posts, which just talking about his journey, talking about his choices, some of his fundamental thoughts and beliefs as well, which we're going to dive into tonight maybe along the way. But I do think if you genuinely don't believe something is possible, it's really hard to motivate yourself to take action towards doing anything. And so I really value getting around people like this. And Siri wants to join in the conversation. I really value getting around people like this because their belief, their thoughts, the fact that they're doing well, it rubs off on me. It's an influence. And so I spend some time every day making sure I get in the energy of people that are like, cool, I'm doing this. It's happening. I'm excited about it, because then I get excited about it as well. Nice one on the weekend. Hey, Glenn. I just glitched apparently. Yeah, Paul saw. Okay, so you saw Sean on Facebook. Nice. Ricky, hey man, thanks for joining us. More Voice Live 3 looping masterclasses. Awesome. Oh, I appreciate it, man. Glad the videos online have been useful. It's a beast of a pedal. So yeah, again, we're going to go through these 3 artists. I encourage you to go and look them up online. Sean Kirk on Facebook, Matt Baker on Facebook as well, and then Andrew Rooney on YouTube. And just see, what have they been posting? What have they been sharing? Where, how have things changed over the course? This is one thing I really like looking at. What was Matt Baker's first live stream video like? And you can do this if you want with me. Is a great example, because my first live streams are very different to now, and that's still a process I'm sure that will change. But I'm not saying I have created the success in these areas that these 3 have either, but there's a natural progression that we tend to hear about people when they're doing well. But I love going back and seeing the very first ones, where they're like, right, I'm going to do this. Things maybe didn't work as well as we thought or planned, but you learn and grow and evolve. So yeah, diving into the fun of creating content around what we're doing musically. And so I love this discussion because I don't think I know any profession where, and maybe I do, but I don't think I know any profession where you just absolutely love every single aspect of your job, of your role. Like you love doing accounting and invoices. You also love performing. You love maybe social media, taking photos, that sort of thing. And yes, you can absolutely outsource some of this stuff if you don't like it. But more and more, I'm just seeing like this is a part of the journey, the process. Like I could be an amazing guitarist sitting here with the camera off, with the mic off. Maybe I'm the best in the world, right? But if I never turned a camera on, if I never went and played in public, if I never maybe started a social media account and stream what I'm doing, just share it. Like maybe sometimes it's great, maybe sometimes it's not. Then we can get feedback and some people can say, hey, I like what this person's doing. But there needs to be something out there in the world. So yeah, ready, fire, aim approach. A little bit like that, David. So I think there's some real benefit in getting as much as you can set up and ready to go. Same as you would plan for a performance, or doing a live stream. Do a test run, but realize there's some things that you're only going to learn once you're in that environment. So get your songs together, get that sort of stuff ready. But when you're in the live environment, it's like, okay, cool. Now I have a bunch of people staring at me. Like suddenly it brings new emotions. It brings this connection between people. Maybe when you practice at home, you're not used to talking, you're not used to chatting. And again, not saying that you have to, but it might be something that you feel that you want to do. And suddenly you realize the skill level of that is down here because everything's gone into practicing and playing music. So, yeah, I love it. Scottish Highland Jam sessions in Barnes, the best with a good whiskey. That sounds amazing. I would be keen on that. Invite me along when I can travel. Let's do that. So, just carrying on with Sean Kirk as the first little example. Again, fire any questions in the chat that you want to or that you have, and I will happily dive into those at some point as well on tonight's session. I'm kind of like I've got a bit of energy. It's a topic I'm really passionate about because I think a lot of musicians and artists, and it can be a sore point, but I think a lot of us could basically create a lot more impact by just sharing the stuff, like literally setting up a phone and sharing some stuff, having a small plan, even if it's small, but a small plan for social media and how you might reach a bunch of people that can be impacted by your music, can appreciate your music, will be maybe having a bad day and happen to tune in on your Twitch stream, on your YouTube, on your Facebook, on Instagram, and you performing, singing, expressing yourself has made a difference for them. So it's something I'm really passionate about. I'd love to hear your stories if something comes out of this that you're like, hey, you know what? I started doing this out of that live stream. That's what genuinely excites me about doing this stuff. So Sean Kirk set up a GoFundMe page. There's a picture of him with a bottle of Dettol and a cat. It's quirky. He wrote and spent the time writing a really good description of his concern, his cancelled shows, wondering what he's going to do and diving into the live stream, creating a way that people could contribute to him if they wished. So I think it's one of those things where having something there, whether it's a plan, Paul, as you mentioned, whether it's also maybe just a picture of what might be possible if you shared rather than a mapped out plan. it might just something to be like, yeah, you know what? That'd be cool if I could make this happen. And heading from a general image of where you want to go. Curious as well, if you're just on, who, like, if people have been doing this, love to know what you feel like you've struggled with, and love to know, how, in terms of your own setup, and talking about Facebook streaming at the moment, Facebook with links to the likes of PayPal, Venmo, that sort of thing. And then the one thing I think that's smart in all this, of what we've already talked about, but with Sean posting a bunch of photos and messages on Facebook and being reasonably active consistently, there's this thing that ticks over that you're like, oh yeah, cool. I'm starting to get to know this guy. I'm starting to actually connect with him. And through that, suddenly it's like, oh yeah, cool. Saturday, I happen to be home. I will tune in, hang out, listen to a concert. And then these things start, I think, building, or you start getting things sharing. So I want to do a GoFundMe, so please expand. GoFundMe, I think it's a really, if you go and look at Sean Kirk's GoFundMe, so if you go and check out Sean Kirk's Facebook page, if you go onto any of his live streams, you'll see there's a link to that GoFundMe page. You can click on that, and then you can have a read of what he's set up. And you literally can set up something similar for yourself as an artist, and use that as a template. I'm a big fan of getting ideas from other artists and being like, okay, cool. What picture, he's got a picture of him with a Dettol bottle and a cat. It's quirky. It's him. So it's like, you're probably not going to get a Dettol bottle and a cat, and probably not his cat. But who knows? But do you use that as a template that, oh, okay, what if I was surviving COVID as an artist, what would I need? And maybe you can create something out of that. Obviously, your story, when you write it, is going to be very different. You probably didn't have the same tours booked that he did, but maybe you had other shows at local venues that all got pulled, cancelled, that sort of thing. So I think it's one of those things that you've got to. I use these things as inspiration, and then I be like, okay, that's a good idea. I'm going to use that and change it for me. That section's not really me. I'm not really on that, so probably doesn't make that much sense to use that. And then maybe from what we go through in a second with Matt and with Andrew Rooney, maybe something from there, I'm like, oh, I could absolutely apply that. And if you've been watching my channel, Andrew Rooney's reaction videos are what started the thought for me of doing, like, I could do reaction videos. I thought it was very odd when I first did it. And I filmed the first one, and I was like, this is awesome. I literally just made time for myself to sit down and watch specifically another loop artist, another artist creating loops, and see what they did and talk about it. And, obviously some of those things, people are like, oh, cool. Maybe I have some insights, some thoughts that are useful to other people, but I'm just really enjoying the process of sitting down with the camera on and being like, right, ignore everything else. I'm going to actually watch other looping artists and learn myself, be like, okay, same story, right? Could I apply this idea? Could I just loop the chorus and then just play acoustic for the verse, like the last Hosier cover I did by the ending to this story? It's like, yeah, I haven't done that for a long, long time, looping wise for me. Cool. Reminds me of ideas. So, Ricky, thanks. Mate, I'd love to. It goes for days. Hey, I love it. Wicked game loop amongst Highland guitars and pipe tunes. Didn't go down too well. Oh well. That's cool. So that's a little bit about what Sean Kirk's done. Again, I don't know all the inside details. I've just spent some time looking through and pulling out the things that stand out to me of what he's done. You can all do this. You can all go through and look and be like, okay, cool, this person's getting this result. I think I'd like something like that. Awesome. And then go through and just like be like, what have they been doing? What have they been sharing? Could I start? And look, to be honest, I'm not going to be Sean Kirk next week in terms of playing and that sort of thing, but it doesn't matter. I think with music, it's like, and people love there'll be people that really don't like what he does. Same with any artist. There's people that like what I do. There's people that don't like what I do. That's absolutely fine. I just want to share what I do and what I can with people that are like, man, I appreciate that. Thanks. I'm like, if you don't, go find the next person, we all have different tastes and styles and that sort of thing. So I think working on your craft is awesome, but it's not necessarily about, like being the best at every single thing. So, right. Questions. We'll dive into what Matt Baker's doing, and then we're going to bring up Andrew Rooney and talk a little bit about YouTube. So, Ade, do you think it's a good idea to space out your music, meaning release a song and wait until a couple of weeks to release another? Yeah, I think overall that's a really good idea. I think there's a sense of consistency that I see between all these different artists in terms of what they're doing. So, and I think you see that with bigger artists as well. The artists that release something consistently and have something to talk about all the time, and I say all the time very loosely because there's a tail off of anything, right? But often you also see you realize one time you're like, hey, where did that band go? I haven't heard anything from that band or artist for years. And 5 years later they release another album, and it's sort of, it feels like starting again. It's like any momentum and conversation. Oh, they just released this. Oh, they're doing that. There's some engagement. They stay on our minds. Whereas I think if you release a whole lot and then, ignore it, I think it's much harder to start again to maybe release the next thing. But again, I don't have all the answers. And also it might be something that just works for you lifestyle wise, where you're like, I'm going to release everything in 3 months. I've been working on it and that's what I want to do. And then I don't want to do anything. I want to take a break and leave it. So I think there's things that work, and consistency is one of those things overall that, funnily enough, shows up in a lot of successful artists and musicians and YouTubers and Facebook streamers or Twitch streamers, all that sort of stuff. But I think, Ade, you've got to also figure out what's a good option for you personally and how you want to run things. David, does YouTube charge to live stream? No. I have a funny feeling there may be, when you start a YouTube channel, there's certain things that unlock as you build a channel. And I have a funny feeling, I don't know if anyone knows. If you do, if you'd put it in the chat, that'd be amazing. You may have to reach a certain number of subscribers or a certain watch time or something like that to be able to live stream. But there's not a charge for it. They charge for super chats. Love it. They charge for super chats, but that is at your own choice to do that at any point. So, dude, Ricky, I love that comment, man. I've been playing guitar for over 40 years, not as fast as I used to be and not as good as I should be, but it's my life, and my wife loves my music, and that makes me happy. I feel you on that one, man. I got a beautiful comment on YouTube today, and it really is so much of what fuels me making music and sharing things. And the comment was, I'm really glad this guy pursued his dream or pursued his passion, I think was his words. And I was just like, you know what, that's the best comment I could get for me. It's like that he's not saying, oh my gosh, this guy is the best, or this guy is da da da, but something about that song and that performance connected at that time, and it contributed, what I did contributed something in his world. And that to me, again, we all have different values, but that to me is pretty ace. So yeah, can relate. Love it. Okay, cool. So if you just with YouTube, if you have a laptop, you can live stream. All good. If you are live streaming on your phone, you need at least 1,000 subs. Thanks you. I appreciate the information. So, okay, diving into number 2. This is Matt Baker. I'll kind of go through a few little bits from him and what he's been doing, and then we'll jump into some more questions and all that sort of stuff as well. So, Matt Baker is a pianist, a jazz pianist. He is things got locked down and hectic pretty early on, and he started live streaming. And again, 3 shows a week was what he was initially doing. Just some other info for you. He was also paying for some Facebook advertising to increase his likes and increase the amount of people that he was reaching with new people coming into the shows. And then he had links to Venmo. I think he might have had Cash App and PayPal as well. And he planned the timings so that he could kind of go through a few dinner times over in the States time zones, just in terms of kind of giving you an idea, mapping out what he did. Again, I would suggest timing wise, think of where the biggest reach, if you're going to stream on Facebook or YouTube, it would make sense to stream where you at a time where the majority of your fans can tune in. So if, like, I live in New Zealand, I've toured New Zealand the most. In saying that, on YouTube, this is against what I just said. There are more people overseas on my YouTube channel that are subscribed and follow me than in New Zealand. But it's also a balance for me of something that I could do consistently with this Ask Me Anything, rather than like 2 a.m. on a Tuesday every week. So I think, Ade, that's what we talked about before, maybe with, if it was you, of balancing lifestyle versus maybe the best option in timing. But Matt Baker, so live streaming 3 times a week. Same story. If you look and go back through his Facebook page, what I think he did really, really well is he actually started theming a lot of his shows. So it would be like Wednesday night is romantic night with all sorts of tunes. It would be the music of a specific artist for one night and one show, and that sort of thing. So it gave people a reason to be like, oh, I'm going to tune into that show, rather than, and I'm guilty of this, being like, hey, I'll be online, come along. So yeah, so I think it's one of those things as well that I think if you watch his journey, and again, if you search Matt Baker Piano, I believe, or Matt Baker, he will show up on Facebook, and you can follow him and dig back through some of his videos and watch what changed in terms of lighting, image, how he was delivering them, and maybe just in terms of his message of, I feel like he talks pretty well about donations and just being open, saying, hey, this is what I'm now doing to pay the rent on my New York apartment, which is where I live and where I'm kind of stuck inside of. So, if you come to see me live, you would have bought a ticket to a show, that sort of thing. So if you want to think of it like that. But again, you can go through and watch some of his videos and just tune in and take what you like, what you think is a good thing that you can use, and maybe replicate it. And I just want to point out as well, it's super easy for us to compare, say, Matt Baker at live stream number 50 with some knowledge already of audio-visual gear, camera-wise, and that sort of thing. He hadn't really streamed before, and he upgraded what he was doing, but he's also a Photoshop touch-up artist. That's probably not the right term. Sorry, Matt. But he already had some knowledge in that area and already a fantastic pianist, jazz pianist. So it's just one thing that I remind myself too. It's like we all start with a different skill level, and we can learn all of these things. And I'm saying this, and I'm aware that I'm talking lots tonight, but I get passionate about this, and it really is like just seeing you guys and girls walk away with one nugget that you can apply out of this live stream. Super happy. Super excited for that. So let's not compare ourselves to his most recent live stream when we don't have the skills. It's absolutely okay to start doing a live stream and suck at it. You might even just delete it afterwards because you're like, oh my gosh, it's so bad. Okay, I did it, but maybe I'm super awkward. I want to get rid of it and move on. Yeah, for sure. Then it's just a balance, that sort of thing. And then one thing that Matt's done as well, I think really well, he's had a link to merch into his website. And on his website, he's been capturing emails so that you can download an album, a bunch of tunes from him via joining an email list. And then he did a masterclass that we were talking about before. So it's things have evolved. He's had goals and evolved what he's been doing along the way as well. Super, super cool. And then let's just dive in. If you're still on, or if you've just joined, welcome. If you have questions, I'll kind of jump into that. And then we're going to talk about YouTube. And I'm going to use Andrew Rooney as an example, who had about 600 subscribers when New Zealand first went into lockdown in April, I think it was. And now has nearly 12,000 subscribers. Hey, Grinch, welcome. Buddy, I did move my stream an hour, but purely because we had daylight saving time kick in. We're heading into summer in New Zealand, so our clocks, skipped forward an hour. I think that's right. Which, means technically if you're overseas and you don't have daylight saving, then the stream has changed time. I am well, buddy. It's good to see you here. And when yours change, we might be back in sync again. So appreciate it. Okay, so let's dive into the lucky last, the third person and musician we're going to look at tonight, and that is Andrew Rooney, who's a buddy here in Auckland, in New Zealand. And we've been chatting a lot about YouTube, streaming, uploads, all sorts of different things that we've had a lot of chats about. But what I would highly, highly recommend you look at on his channel is if you go back to the start of this year, you'll see there was really not a lot happening. Cool, no worries. At the start of lockdown, Andrew decided he was going to get monetized on YouTube. He was going to hit the threshold and make it happen. And then what you see is the activity changes. He adjusts, he tries things out. Some things work, some things don't. No worries. Not a whole lot happened to start with. And I think this is a really important detail is he spent quite a lot of time uploading videos consistently every week to start with, and nothing really changed on his channel. And yet the next week he would upload videos the next week until magically overnight, right? But until one of his videos in particular, a reaction video, really took off. And you just see the change in his channel of being like, oh, cool. And what's happened since then is he's been learning and improving, like we talked about the live streams, the quality maybe being down here to start with, and rising as time continues and moves on. And but not only has his understanding and knowledge, which is absolutely natural, the more time we spend on something, the more improvement, the better we get, the more improvement, the more we improve, the better we get. So but he's been putting in the time and releasing more content of slowly as well, greater, more interesting content, experimenting with things along the way. And I think that's pretty cool to go from April around 600 subscribers to nearly 12,000. I think it's 11,800 or somewhere there when I looked tonight. So I just kind of, again, with all this stuff, I'm like, if you wanted to build something on YouTube and you literally went, oh my gosh, okay, it's going to take from April to October of releasing videos every week consistently, regardless, and just ignore what happens. Not in a nasty way, but just like, don't be too worried to start with. Just have that goal of, whatever you want to create with it. And again, if you want to do the YouTube thing, doesn't mean that's necessarily what you want to do. You might want to just release your own music on Spotify and that's it. You never want to be in front of a camera. So the same kind of principles apply if you're doing that and reaching people on there. So, but yeah, the biggest thing with Andrew, we've chatted a lot is, and I think two things, and I'm sure he won't mind me saying, but he literally gets up every morning, goes for a walk, and listens to some sort of positive, inspiring audio that gets him in a space to literally start the day excited, inspired about what, 24 hours, right? What am I going to do with it today? And it's so crucial. It's so crucial. I notice it for myself as well. I've been doing a lot of this, and dived into a lot of audio that just has me actually be excited about what I'm creating, which might sound super simple, but it's really it's kind of like you're fighting yourself. I would put it in that way. I'm fighting myself when, on the one hand, I have these goals and dreams and aspirations for what I want to do and contribute in the world with music and who I am, and share that with all of you. And then on the other hand, there's part of me sometimes it's like, oh, you're a bit tired, like, yeah, just have a nap. Sometimes I do. But I think getting yourself into an emotional state where you're feeling excited, like you can't wait to edit that video. You can't wait to sit down and play the guitar and play the same flippin' song just maybe 1 or 3 or 17 more times, because you're excited to get it under your fingers. You're excited to learn it. It's so valuable underneath all of this stuff, because life is more exciting. You're having fun. You're learning something. You're sharing something. You feel good. And then secondly, you're no longer fighting yourself. It's like, I say, I don't know about you guys, and I'm curious actually at this point, because this is something I expected to come up in tonight, and kind of planned on sharing it, I guess, as well. But I'm real intrigued who goes through this, right? Sometimes when you're practicing a whole lot, you're excited. It's you're just feeling it. And other times we're absolutely not, haven't picked up the guitar for ages, haven't made a video, haven't live streamed, whatever it happens to be. So I think there's ways and habits that we can develop that put us consistently on a better energy path, in a better state. And one of those for me, and I kind of got here from talking about some of Andrew Rooney's consistency and habits, but one of those is listening to awesome audios that actually I listen to and I leave inspired. I can actually feel the difference, that I'm just more excited to do whatever the next thing I'm doing is. So, yeah. Hey, Josh, how's it going? Questions, and then we'll chat. I will answer whatever happens to appear. But for starting out, yeah, Paul, and look, this is awesome. Thanks for commenting, man. For starting out, it's so hard. Comments hurt. The no views hurt. There's never an end time of when it will work. Still hasn't, but multi-platform, and we'll keep doing it, and maybe one will work. Awesome. I feel you on that, man. The thing that I've noticed, and again, just going back to Andrew Rooney, is it's like the consistency thing is like absolutely trumps me on that side of things. And it's awesome. I love it. I love chatting because it pushes me and motivates me to create what I'm actually wanting to, not what I dream about and then want to go and have a nap, right? But his consistency with putting out content and doing the work and getting himself to a space where he wants to do the work, he's excited about it as well, I think is super, super cool. And then for me, what I've found is then the comments don't hurt. They don't matter, because it's like, I'm already making the next one. And, you know, some of the comments that really amuse me on my channel is when people say, that audio is terrible, or that's notes wrong. It's like, most of the time, I already know. I will agree with them. I'll be like, you were right. The audio in this is terrible. Like, I already knew that. I made the thing. I sat through editing it. My headphones being like, man, the audio in this is bad. But I've learned from those things, and hopefully overall the standard of my audio and things like that has improved. But it's like, I think those sorts of things along the way, if you're already planning the next video, if you're like, cool, that one's out, I hope people appreciate it, I really hope it contributes, but I've literally started making the next one, so, you know, all good. But yeah, I appreciate the comment, Paul. Thanks, man. Josh, how did the tram thing go? Dude, I loved it. We Shimna and I played on for the Motat live day, which was awesome. Motat is Museum of Travel and Transportation. That's terrible. I just know it as the acronym. I had to really think about that. I hope I got that right. Sorry, Motat. In Auckland, they had a live day, so a bunch of people coming in, hanging out, exploring all the exhibits. They had all the trams, including a steam-powered tram as well. And Shimna and I and another musician, Kent, played on another tram. And we played on the trams, entertaining people as they got on and off. We had some great sing-alongs. We compulsory, because we went past the Auckland Zoo every time, played In the Jungle, Whim Away. The Lion Sleeps Tonight, you know. Cool. Hey, David, awesome. Brother, I totally get that as well. The voice I hear in my head is, I'm not a pro. Who would want to hear me? And I think that's a super, super common question and thought. And what I've found with music, man, is there's just all these different things. Like, if you enjoy it, like, just test out sharing it, because I don't think you can ever answer that in your own head. And the weird thing is, I have the same question. Like, I go through the same thing of just being like, oh, I haven't really got that yet. I'm working on this. When I get a little bit better, when I improve my voice this much more, then yeah, okay, it's really off. It's really off. It will really take off, or people will appreciate it. And interestingly, what I've noticed, I'm a better musician and artist and singer now than I was 5 years ago, and yet there's videos on my channel that people still appreciate from 5 years ago. And I think it's like, figure out what it is for you. And I get there's a sense as well, like Paul mentioned, anytime we put ourselves out there and be vulnerable with sharing what we do, there's a bunch of things that come back that it's like, yeah, we open ourselves up for some little keyboard warrior somewhere that doesn't really play or sing anyway is like, that was awful. It's like, yeah, cool, man. Like, most of those comments that are hurtful, and again, this is just what I've seen on my channel more than anything else, but I don't really get nasty comments because there's no space for them on my channel. It's just like, they probably had a bad day and they just get me coming back to them being like, oh dude, either like, I know my audio was awful, you're telling me I sat through editing it all, or I'm just like, thanks for the love, brother, because I've said some shitty comments at times, and you know what? Guarantee every time I have, and I've been in a really rough place. I've had a really shitty day. I've not been liking myself, and that's when I like somehow think it's a good idea to be like, man, that was really out of tune or something. It's like, I don't know. It doesn't help. It doesn't make me feel better. It doesn't. I'm just genuinely in a really bad state, and so it's like, oh, that's why I've done it. So, yeah, I just think all of us, this magic that you have, that you'll share, that no one else can share in the way that you will, whatever that might show up as. So, yeah, I look forward to seeing it, man. If you put something out there, let me know. Glenn, what audio? Any suggestions? I'm not quite sure what you're mentioning there, Glenn, to be honest. I've forgotten. Oh, Josh. Oh, mate. Yeah, honestly, it would have been cool if you'd turned up, but next time I hope you got lunch. Nice. Love it, Ricky. Cheers, man. Yeah, Paul. They never even have their own videos. Yeah, typically that's pretty standard. Nasty comments especially on YouTube, typically come from someone with 2 subscribers who possibly just their own other accounts that they've made. Who knows? Just seems to be the way it is. And no videos uploaded. Interesting, isn't it? So Grimsh, I'm using the RC30 and it comes with 2 tracks. The thing is, the second track can be just as long as the first track, and sometimes I feel kind of limited by this. Yes, it has to be the same length on the RC30, and there's actually a video. It's all edited. It's actually on the channel, and I'm literally waiting for myself to complete another video that goes along with it, so both get launched. Where I talk with another artist who used to use the RC30, professional musician in Auckland, who's awesome. And he used the RC30 for so long, finally got the RC300. And he was like, I didn't realize how limited, not in a bad way, but he's like, I had to compromise quite a bit. And he'd just gotten so used to that. Sorry, that was just me having some thoughts inspired from your message. Cheers, David. I honestly, man, get involved, enjoy yourself, have fun, and like you might be surprised what people appreciate you for. Yeah. Cheers, Glenn. Josh, I have a feeling I know who this is. I have a feeling Lee knows who this is. Yeah, Lee and I have had some good catch ups recently. Another awesome loop artist from Auckland. So if you want to go and check out some cool loop covers, go and check out his channel. There are 2 videos on my channel that I really wanted to have out already before this live Ask Me Anything. But it's not quite how it's panned out. One is done and one is not quite done, and they're both going to go up together. So that's what I will be working on this evening after jumping off this live stream. So, there we go. I like this. This is some love. Lee played at Josh's cousin's wedding. Nice. I like it. Well, that seems like a super nice note to wind up this live stream. I just for a quick refresh, I'm just going to fire their names and images back on the screen. The 3 different artists that I talked about tonight is obviously Andrew Rooney. Go and check him out on YouTube. Again, look back through what he's created from April this year and his consistency with uploading videos and adapting, adjusting as he goes. Matt Baker in New York City, awesome jazz pianist. I think he's done really, really well with theming his live streams, directing people to join his email list on his website, build through Facebook promotion the amount of likes he has to the amount of new faces seeing him and joining those live streams, and then the quality of his production from if you look at from the first ones to now. And then lastly, Sean Kirk from Australia. Awesome guitarist and musician. I really love what he's created with sharing posts on Facebook with actual personal messages and contributions to people, aside from his music and the love that he shares through that. And then I really love the GoFundMe page where he actually just describes what's going on for him in his world. It's a bit quirky. It's got a cool picture, as I mentioned. So you can all check all of those people out online and go and stalk them and steal some ideas that make them you. They're going to be you by default, but you're like, oh my gosh, okay, maybe I can stream on Facebook and test this out and put a link to a PayPal app. Maybe I can set up a GoFundMe. I hadn't thought of that before. Various people that you can go and check out. Matt Baker, Sean Kirk on Facebook predominantly, and then Andrew Rooney on YouTube with what he's doing as well. So super cool. Thanks all for tuning in. I enjoy doing this, as you can tell. I enjoy talking about this, and I will love the messages from you at some stage. I don't know who it will be that actually takes this information and is like, shit, you know what? I just decided to do it because that really fuels me, like really fuels me. Those messages when someone has their own victory out of something that was said or shared on one of these. So super cool. And Ricky, some stage I'm gonna join you for that whiskey and a Highland jam somewhere across the world. Appreciate that. Sounds excellent, my friend. Thanks, Ade. Thanks, everybody. I will see you sometime, either with videos on the channel or on a live stream or somewhere in the world. Appreciate you all. See you later.